Cool boy. Ladies and gentlemen, this is gonna be a good one. My name is ERG Apollo, and I am so excited to finally play The Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky. I was gonna say a number, but I could not remember because this isn't the first Legend of Heroes game, but we're not gonna get into it because I don't know that much about the franchise. Now, why did I wait so long to play this game? Given that it's been out for a while, I played a few hours of it, earlier this year, but because I didn't own second and third, I didn't want to play the first because I knew that second chapter was a direct, like, in an almost like end of paragraph, beginning of next paragraph sense. That's like they are very closely connected. So I didn't want to play I didn't want to play first chapter till I had second chapter, and that was just going to make me want to play third chapter because I really want to play Cold Steel, but I want to get there first. So, we're doing Trails in the Sky. It's live. Yes, we're doing it live. See, look. I don't know if you can hear my keyboard inputs, but live commentary. If something proves to be too grindy, then we'll switch to post in the future, but for now, we're just going to play on normal difficulty. I'm pretty decent at JRPGs, so I think we'll be fine. But, yes. The Legend of Heroes. Or I guess Trails is what it's better known as in the West, because Trails is the first section of, like, arc, or, like, era of the series. I don't know anything about Legend of Heroes, please don't sue me. That really started to come westward. And really, what can you say about these games at this point? I mean, Falcom has gone on to become a pretty well-known name, at least in the more, like, hardcore JRPG scene. And by that I mean people who don't, like, just play, like, Final Fantasy or Pokemon. Like, people who get really dug into JRPGs as a genre know what Falcom is. But that's also not to say that Falcom is this underground, super unknown type of thing, you know? It's kind of right in the middle. So, you know. But you've probably heard of a Falcom game before. You've probably heard of Trails. You've probably heard of Cold Steel. Or, I know that there's been a huge push recently to localize the Crossbell duology. I know Trails from Zero is already out, and Trails from Azure is coming out next year in English, officially, which is amazing. But you probably know Falcom better for the Ys franchise, which was a series of action RPGs whose sudden success in the West, thanks to the simultaneous PC and PSP release of Ys Chronicles 1 and 2 Plus, with the PC version coming out on Steam, being a critical and, like, financial success, really sort of pushed Falcom to see the potential. There's a whole history behind the localization of these games. It's a long, complicated, depressing history. Honestly, in the description of this video, I'm just gonna link Matt McMuscles, What Happened video about it, because it's a fucking mess. Good video, you should watch it. He seems like a cool dude. But anyways, one thing that you should probably know right out the gate that I can tell you, even not knowing much about Trails, these games are wordy. Like, we might not get out of the prologue within the first two videos. It's probably going to be episode 3 before we start seeing some combat and some, you know, exploration. Point being, the beginning of the game is really long. But that being said, the writing is incredible. The world building is great. Characters have a lot of personality, and the world is really interesting and detailed, and there's so much to it. And they go into so much detail. So, be ready for a lot of words. Be ready for a lot of reading. That's why I'm taking a little bit of time with each text box, so that you can read it and follow along. I don't know the story too well, so I can't sit here and explain things. I actually don't remember how far I got in the game. I know I played a couple hours, but telling someone you got a couple hours into an RPG could mean literally anything. You could be 5 hours into Persona 4, but you're barely into the first dungeon at that point, so She is so mad about getting a brother. Well, not really a brother, rather. Just her dad bringing this random injured kid home. Oh. Trying to think of, like, while this... Is he an illegitimate... What? Oh my god. I'm trying to think of, like, other stuff I can really talk about. But I'm not nearly as knowledgeable on this as, like, Final Fantasy or Persona or Dragon Quest. So I can't really detail the game or the franchise's history. Hell, I'd have a better job or an easier time doing this. I'd have an easier time doing this if we were playing an Ys game, and I still don't know that much about Ys. So, you know, I apologize if I'm a little quiet right now. Well, I guess if anyone's curious, I mean, by this point you could have Googled the release date, but the original version of the game released in 2004 on the PC, with a PSP port coming out in Japan 2 years later, which I think would line up with the Japanese PC release of Second Chapter. Unsure of if Second Chapter came out on PSP in Japan day and date with the PC version. But we didn't see Trails in the Sky in English officially until 2011. Yeah. We didn't get it till 7 years after its initial release, 5 years after the PSP version released. And if you thought we'd get Second Chapter localized soon after, nope, try about 4 years later. The localization of Second Chapter was a whole mess and is the main focus behind the Matt McMuscles video that I mentioned earlier. But to gloss over so much, seriously, watch the video, there's too much to explain. The localization of Second Chapter was such a mess and took such a long time that we didn't even get a PSP release of Third Chapter. It completely missed the PSP, and the only platform to play all 3 games in English are, at least officially, is... Well, no, we got... Did I say PSP or PC? Because we got a PC release of Trails in the Sky, the third. I have it. But we didn't get a PSP release. So... Nope! Estelle! That's not gonna help him, Estelle. See, the question is, why is Joshua yelling at Cassius? God, but where... I completely dropped off the face of the earth in terms of talking about the releases for the localized entries. But yeah, so we blah blah blah, took forever. We get Trails in the Sky the Third on PC in 2017. Second Chapter was a PSP game in 2015. Which, the fact that they still released a physical PSP game in 2015, and by the way, Trails in the Sky first chapter is a 1 UMD disc game. But that's stretching it. It's a big game. Mostly text. The PSP version of second chapter is 2 UMDs. And second chapter is about double the length of the first game from what I've heard. So, we are in for a fucking long haul. This is the opening cutscene? 10 minutes in. But, oh man, I am excited. I've been hearing about Cold Steel and Crossbell and Sky for my entire fucking, time playing JRPGs. Taking them seriously, not just... Okay, not to say people don't take JRPGs seriously if they only play Final Fantasy, but I'm talking about going deep into the genre and exploring tons of games from tons of companies and tons of different styles. And every time, I was told, you gotta play Cold Steel, you gotta play Cold Steel, and I'm like... But I didn't have a PS... Oh, I had a PS3, I didn't own the game at the time. But I was always told to play the Trails games, or not the Trails games, the Sky Trilogy on PSP, and I was like, okay. But then I found out we hadn't gotten the third game yet at the time, because I was still in high school. So this was around 2015, 2016. And my friend was gonna lend me Cold Steel, actually, the first one. But he couldn't find his copy of it literally anywhere, so... You know... This is one of those franchises that I've always wanted to play, and I've always heard these just stellar things, from the gameplay to the music to the characters. It's all just super high quality. So I'm excited. I'm very excited. I'm no stranger to Falcom titles. I've played through Ys 1, half of Ys 2. I've played a very large majority of... Actually, no, I actually finished one character's campaign in Ys Origin. I've played around 7 hours now of Ys 8. I own every Ys game on Steam except for 9. So I'm not... What I'm trying to say is, this isn't my first Falcom title, but I'm so fucking excited to play it. So, I'm ready. I want to know what the fuss is about, and I want to know why, despite having to wait 7 years for the PSP release of the first game, despite having to wait 4 more years for the localization of second chapter, and not knowing if anything else after that was going to come out in the West, I want to know why there is so much fervor and excitement behind these games. And I kind of bought into the hype a little bit, at least based on my first few hours, but I could never concretely, commit. So I'm ready. I'm excited. I hope you can hear it in my voice. But hopefully it'll be a good one. I hope that I like it. I have a feeling I will, but I think it would really fucking suck if I played these games and walked away from each of them just going, "Aw, this is terrible, overhyped, Falcom sucks dick, I'm gonna go back to playing Ys." But who knows? Hopefully I like it. I think I will. I tend to like these sort of games, so don't see why I wouldn't. Well, I will say this. I am a fucking sucker for this style of, visuals. This sort of, low poly but shockingly well, designed 3D environment with mostly 2D character sprites. It's a very appealing visual style to me. I like it a lot. I adore the music. I will say this right now. I'm grabbing a drink from my bag. Hang on. So I'm really thirsty. I should have drank more before the recording, but the music... I'll say this about Falcom. Even if you're not a huge fan of their, games in terms of gameplay or story, the soundtrack in every single Falcom game I've ever played, or every single one that I've listened to, is stellar. It is S tier at the minimum. It is so fucking good. Don't ask me what my favorite one is. I will not be able to answer that question. I will say this, something that helps, at least from what I've played and what I've heard, something that really helps these games is they have really good localization. Like, really good, from what I've heard. And again, what little I've played of this game and the Ys games. And I know Ys 8 launched with a really dog shit localization, but they patched it, they fixed it, it's better now. Things happen. But the work of people involved with, like, Xseed and Carpe Fulgur back in the day is the reason why I think this franchise is so successful in the West. Ooh, so good. No, I can't do it. I can't. That's the word. A lot of the games that I want to Let's Play are games with really good music. And you know what I'm... It's the bit, it's the thing, y'all already know what it is. A fetish for sports shoes? I love the some of the props in the background. They're 3D models with, you know, flat textures in some, like really flat textures in some cases. But I think they fit really well. The plates are like brightly colored and flat. And the cups and the food, it's really funny to me. I'm not sitting here and knocking the game for it, but it's, are you eating or inhaling? It's just, I don't know, it's something really, it's something that gives me kind of a chuckle. It's, I will say, even in a game like Ys 8, it is kind of easy, or not easy, but it does show that, like, hey, this is a low-budget title, and you can tell in some areas. But that's not a bad thing, in my opinion. Because in a sense that, like, where it matters, the game doesn't feel low quality, if that makes any sense. Because you can make a game on a shoestring budget, but you can, if it doesn't feel like it was made on a shoestring budget, then that's what's important to me. And even then, if it feels like a low budget game, if I still have fun with it, I don't care if you made it for 5 cents or $5 billion. But I guess if... I'll wait till we're walking around, but... I was going to try to go over what's happened in the story so far, just in case. I know I said I wouldn't have to do that, because I don't know much about the plot, but I do at least know like a tiny bit in the beginning. Civ. Papa is sad. Papa is sad is kind of a weird line, but I think it's a little funny. I keep doing it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's just like I'm reading the story and I'm following the plot. I'm just like. And technically, for the first time, we have control. Wow. Okay. I'm just trying to get used to playing the game on my keyboard because I don't have, I can't use a controller right now. So when you're actually able to control the camera, you can set it to either be a free rotate or 45-degree angle. I chose 45-degree because that's just what I'm used to with games like this, and that's what I prefer. It's for me, it's easier to orient the camera if I'm doing it at 45 degrees instead of instead of just a free 360. What is our first objective? Is we're just heading to town. You know, simple JRPG bullshit. Actually, it's the right way. Hang on, let me. It's Roland. Okay. I'm bouncing. I'm like vibrating with excitement right now. It's But I have to remember, it's gonna be slow for a while. We've got a lot to sift through before we can actually get to the good stuff. Trying to adjust my sitting position so I don't completely destroy my back. I need, like, a better chair, honestly. Alright. So, the town, this first town can be a little confusing to navigate, but thankfully most of what you need to do is right here. How do I open the... Okay, so that opens the menu. Where did I set as the world map? M. How do I... Oh, that's neat. That's actually, like, super cool. So I guess if you hold shift, it reveals, like, where each exit goes, which is... That's neat. Okay, the question is, how do you open the... Alright. I don't know how you how you enlarge the map. I have it set to V, sorry. Okay, but all of your important buildings will be color-coded, as you can see in the map key. So it makes it very easy to figure out, like, if you have to go to a building like the Bracer Guild. It's this red building. Ow, it hit my face. It's the red building. It's nice. It's good UI design is what I'm trying to say. I think, unfortunately, I don't think any of the Sky Trilogy has voice acting. I'm not too sure about the Crossbell duology. given that they're PSP games. So they might not actually. But there is a mod for the PC version of Sky that actually implements like fan dubbed English voice acting. I don't know how good it is. I don't know if it's finished, but it exists. Oh yeah, like I was going to talk about earlier, after that fateful night where Cassius brought Joshua home, I guess it's these two grow up together in that house, and then, they want to become bracers like Cassius. So, and as far as I'm aware, a bracer is sort of like a adventurer, but a more like... What is something that I can akin it to with my limited knowledge of Trails? It's like joining a free company in Final Fantasy XIV. There we go. But you're adventurers, and you take on guild missions to help people, defeat monsters, and do various jobs, I find it kind of funny, because when you think of the anime tropes of the super serious, well, not super serious, but the more focused, dedicated character, ow! Alright. That's gotta go. But when you think of the more focused and dedicated character, it's usually... Typically in a lot of shonen anime, it's the girl, and then the boy is the sort of like layabout, sort of nonchalant, oh, I'll handle this, doesn't study type of person. But the roles are reversed, ooh. I'm not trying to say that as like a dig at Estelle as a character. She seems really cool. It's just normally the roles are reversed, so that was something that actually kind of took me aback at first with Trails. Like when I first played like the first few hours of the game. I love that face so much. Joshua stood up for you in his own special way, Estelle. Don't worry. By the way, when I said the game is wordy, the game is wordy, so... She's actually going to sit here and explain stuff. It's not gonna cut to black, so be ready for that. Or... Okay, not... Oh, yeah. You do have the option of skipping all this stuff, but I do think it's important information to have and at least understand. So I was pretty right about bracers actually, but that's pretty par for the course. I think most JRPGs have a sort of adventurers guild. She gets a little too excited about that. Something that I love about their writing, at least so far, is there is so much. What's really difficult with writing, and this is something I've experienced trying to write both original fiction and fan fiction over the years, is conveying voice without a voice, if that makes any sense. Like, a character's personality and their demeanor coming across in their words without them speaking. Because when you're writing a book, you don't have character, or you don't have actors dubbing their lines or reading the script or something. And even in a case like older JRPGs, a lot of them don't have voice acting. And if they do, it's extremely minimal. It's mostly battle grunts or very specific scenes. And in older times, sometimes the voice acting didn't line up with what the character actually sounded like, because voice acting in the early days of video games was the Wild West. But what I'm trying to... The point being, it's really difficult to properly convey a character and who they are on a personal level with just text. And that is something that so far I think Trails in the Sky has done incredibly well. It's very easy to discern or hear, almost in a way, what these characters are saying without them actually saying it, and it's on a bigger level than just reading it. It's one of my favorite qualities about the writing, honestly. Look at this. Make sure you note down any important information you come across. Got it. Fuck. I love that. There's a certain point coming up that I know would make a great stopping point. And that's where I plan on stopping. I'm just trying to get there. Okay. So you return to the Bracers Guild quite often, I assume, and this is where you'll get your quests from. I think both story and side quests are actually from this place. Yeah, and you don't actually have to You don't actually have to individually select each quest. The moment you check the board, it's almost as if they walked up to it and actually wrote it down, because it's automatically logged. Oh, yeah. I think a lot of people could potentially take issue with how wordy these games are, because the way they write it and the way it comes across is genuinely just characters explaining or talking to each other about the world. But as like a consumer and like a player, it can just come across as really slow or potentially like needless exposition. People are like, oh, I just want to get to the game. But I don't really mind, personally. One of my favorite things about RPGs is getting really dug into the world, and I don't always have to be super immersed in everything to enjoy a game, but I would prefer some deeper level of understanding. we'll also... Okay. The system we're about to learn about here is going to be... is the thing that intimidates me, actually. It's going to be kind of... I'm just going to let the game explain, actually. Mr. Game Explain. But I'm going to let the game explain it because I can't. Look at the... Y'all. Dude, it's every time a text box pops up in this game and it's like a list of questions, there's fear. There is fear. And considering we are at the 40-minute mark, I'm cutting it off. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the first episode of The Legend of Heroes: Trails in the Sky. We did nothing today. We got introduced to the story and the music and the game and the characters, but we haven't fucking done anything. I kid, I'm not actually mad. I'm super excited, and I kind of love the early parts of an RPG because it really lets me get ready. Lets me get excited. But like I said, that being said, that's it for the first episode. If you enjoyed yourself, which I can understand if you wouldn't, stick around, like the video. I know everyone tells you to do it. You don't have to. It is optional, but it does help me gauge what people want to see, and it also tells YouTube, hey, people like this content, and also go ahead and subscribe. Subscribing is one of the easiest ways to keep up to date with videos from me, so if you like the Let's Play and you want to see more, that's how you get more. And there's also other series to watch on this channel, as well as hopefully some other stuff. I want to start putting out reviews and scripted edited content in the future, but we'll see. Regardless, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I hope you are just as excited as I am to experience The Legend of Heroes: Trails in the Sky. Have a good one.